Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Telling Tales. Welcome to Symbaroum. It's our midweek dark fantasy fest. As always, we're quite a way through the Witchhammer now and proceeding with some success and a lot of despair as well, because, hey, that's Symbaroum, baby. So, before I start wheeling on my players, which makes them sound decrepit, that's only partially true. Before I wheel on the players and we start doing recaps and the like, let's get the usual promo out of the way. There's a bunch of links below this video, links to Twitch, links to YouTube. You're watching on one of those two sites, please do check out the other one. Twitch is where you can catch us live, and YouTube is where all our videos end up after they've been on Twitch. That's how it works for us and almost everyone else. There's also links to Patreon, Discord, and social media. If those are things that interest you, get involved. We run 3 weekly campaigns at the moment. Vason on Mondays, Symbaroum on Wednesdays, and Cincinnati Chronicles, which is our World of Darkness crossover campaign, on Thursdays. We also do one-shots, probably 1 or 2 of them a month. The most recent of which was this Sunday just gone, where we played Land of Eam and had a lot of fun with it too. And then we're approaching July, which is inexplicably motorbike month on Telling Tales, where on this Sunday, we'll be playing Johnny's homebrewed Bat Out of Hell game. And then later on in the month, on the 15th, I'll be rolling Hell Knight, which is essentially, I mean, for all intents and purposes, it is Mandy, the role-playing game, because that's how I'm going to be running it. So, yeah, there we go. That's all the stuff. Let's start wheeling on those players. And we'll start with Chris. Hi, Chris.
Hello.
Hello. Chris plays Steo, our resident polesman and former City Garden infantryman turned adventurer. Chris, why don't you give us a bit of a meta recap of where we are with the Witchhammer?
So I'd like to go right up into the stratosphere and look at this campaign from a very, very high level, because I've got a really nice segue plan for this, so bear with me. Essentially, Ambria are a nation of refugees / colonists who have arrived to this great flat verdant plain bordered by this enchanted forest of mystery and ancient power and prophecy. And we treasure hunter, gold rush, out of desperation in some cases, strike into this forest to find their fortune and artifacts and forbidden knowledges. Pushing back against that force are the elves and the Iron Pact, an ancient agreement between man and elves to protect the doom that fell to the Empire of Symbar and spawned this enormous forest from ever kind of seeping back into the world. And that's kind of the central boundary. And our group are caught in a situation where we are one of maybe the first 100 or so people to be on the trail of finding a path towards the actual city of Symbar, heir of the titular Symbaroum, the center point of the Forest of Davokar, and an absolute El Dorado of money and opportunity. And there is within Steo over time an understanding that can't possibly be a good thing, because the forest is intrinsically corrupt. It is like a nuclear contaminated wasteland if all of the radiation was trees. And so Steo, kind of being a man of middling, of coming towards the twilight of his life, he's kind of just like, maybe we shouldn't do this, because there's farmland over here and we could just live normal, happy lives and not have to worry about blight beasts. But we find ourselves in this situation where we are at the crest, at the breaking of the wave of a potential route to this great city. And within the party, there's I'm not going to say a split, but there's kind of 2 camps on loot it because it'll be worth a fortune. And Steo's camp is, we must find a way to stop this. And over time, this has manifested into Steo basically joining the Iron Pact. I think it's now pretty much formal that Steo's in the Iron Pact.
Yeah, you have an Iron Pact ring. At least, well, one agent of the Iron Pact has inducted you into the Iron Pact.
Yeah,
whether that counts for anyone else.
But essentially, at this stage, we are on this trail. We have just cleared out a liege troll from Fria Ligan, which, in fairness, was definitely a spicy combat, but we survived. And at the end of this, because at the beginning of this was when Steo finally kind of assigned the contract. At the end of this was when Steo kind of announced and told and came true to the people in the party and said, look, this is how it runs. I am associating with this group. I think that we should go to Symbar, but my goal in going to Symbar is to stop anyone else from getting there because it is danger. So
yeah,
there we go.
Pretty much. I think you've done my job for me by pretty much summarizing the last session as well. And also just kind of summarized Symbaroum, which, well done. Good job. So
yeah, you can stop watching now. So thanks very much, and have a good day.
See you later. So with that in mind, let's bring on our next player. It's only Mike. It's only that guy there. Mike, hello. Mike plays Anton, Theurg of Prios, Holy Man. I see every time I introduce Mike, it's only a lead up really to say Mike rolls terrible dice. But Antom's important too. So
he serves a purpose. Sometimes
he serves a very fundamental purpose that he only sometimes entirely fluffs. So, Mike, how are you, and how's Anton?
I'm good. Anton is still a little bit unsure about where the party stands after that session. We had a big sort of let's get everything out into the open conflab, and that was sort of productive because I think that everyone just set out how they're feeling about this sort of slight rift in the party. I don't think anything particularly was resolved, and it was clear that there's some people, Anton included, who are still quite unsure about how they feel about it themselves. But at least there was like an airing of things. We found out that there was in the Iron Pact and stuff like that.
Which is probably pretty good to know, really.
Yeah.
So there we are. All right, let's bring on our third player this evening. It is Stephen, who plays Elindra.
It's me.
It's you, former Templar novice. Turned adventurer with a big sword who probably hits quite a lot of people with it, actually. It has to be said.
It's like, I mean, it's her job, yeah.
Yeah.
And she pursues it with vigor.
With thorough vigor. How is Elindra feeling? I feel like Elindra is sort of maybe in a position where she's wondering what she's got herself into, and a position, a little bit of paranoia going on, perhaps, about what's going on with the group. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, I think she was unprepared before the start of this campaign for how much danger there was in Davakar and how hard it was to find ways to get paid. So I think the reality of that is kind of starting to dawn on her now. Like, we've survived for Armaroon, but only barely. So I think she was maybe hoping for a few days of respite. She may not get that.
She might not. Let's bring on our final player tonight because John can't be with us tonight. But you know who can be with us? It's Sam. Sam, who plays Askarai, noble, sometimes noble, changeling ranger, archer, and scout. That is Arendar, but also especially because Askarai does have a tendency to shoot his friends in the face, which not many people describe that as noble, all told. So
Sure. It's, I don't know if a tendency. He had a bad day, and then a long time in the past had another bad day, and he's just, it's 2 days, only 2 days. It's not a tendency.
Yeah, absolutely. Although I have to say, if he has another bad day, like, here's the thing: on the original bad day, he shot one friend, with an arrow by mistake. In the second bad day, he shot 2. I'm saying, there's a curve starting there.
With 2 more bad days away from a party wipe, is what you're saying.
Yeah, that's exactly what I'm saying. So there we go. Well, not quite a party wipe, unless you think on the 5th bad day he's going to shoot every one of the others, and then I don't know, have his bow and arrow under his chin or something.
Sure. Well,
which doesn't seem like a good idea.
I feel like when there's only one person left, it's kind of not a party anymore. It's just a person.
That's a party wipe with an epilogue.
Yeah. It's a party of one. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Sounds like most of my parties. So, moving on to the events of last week. Essentially, as Chris said, the scourge of evil in Symbaroum was dealt with. You located the gate you were looking for underneath Symbaroum as part of the puzzle towards finding your way under Karvosti, the plateau that sort of serves as the capital of the witches and the barbarians of Davakar. For various reasons, to find Symbar / to locate Elmendra, one of your fellow fortune hunters who's gone missing. Anyway, you found the gate. It gave you some information, but perhaps not all the information you were after, because it told you how the lock on the undergate works, but not necessarily the code, the key code to use that lock. So that's still sort of out there floating. And now basically you're heading back to Karvosti alongside your ally Degesto to recoup, recover, and then head to the final location of Yepheron Isle. But before that, you are traveling through the ancient Sun Temple, a place of great significance for the Sun Church that you went through on the way here. And you have stumbled across what seems like not good things at all, as you kind of entered the grove that the Sun Temple is in and saw a bunch of bodies. At least one dressed as a Templar, and at least another one who looks to be in priestly robes in the center of the clearing. And we're just going to pick up there, folks. So, Askarai, you're the one who kind of noticed this, so I think we'll start with you. That seems fair.
I think Askarai will get his bow ready and then kind of gesture to the others. There's bodies all over the floor, apparently. Looks like they've been hit by raiders, clansmen, maybe this kind of clan army we've been hearing about.
More from the same group that hit Elindra's Hope. Can you see anyone moving?
No, not yet. I mean, maybe there's survivors further in. How close are we to the actual Sun Temple? Like the room?
Very, very close. Maybe about 30, 40 feet away.
Okay.
The whole place isn't that big. It has those sort of bunkhouses that the Order Magica and the Templars and the Curia stay in. And then there's the Sun Temple, which is, it's not a small underground building, but it's not a huge one either. So, and that's basically all that's here.
Okay.
I think we need to go and check the fallen, see if there are survivors, see if we can work out what's happened here.
Yeah, it's that, or we skirt around it and ignore the whole thing. And we're only going to be able to avoid these politics for so long, if it is politics.
I don't know about the father, but I don't think I can leave them.
Absolutely not. But we should be cautious. We know that there are elves not too far away, and we know what they can do now. Yeah. And with that in mind, I'd like to activate Blessed Shields, if I can. I can.
Hey, who else is the lucky one? You're on mute, mate.
Arindar. No, I think we'll include Steo in this.
Sure.
Yay!
Is that because before the stream, Chris was complaining about his armor?
Yeah, and I think that Steo just craves to be the meat shield for the party.
Yeah, why not? Why not enable that?
Yeah.
Absolutely. Okay, so we're progressing forward. I'm assuming cautiously. There certainly doesn't seem to be any sign of anyone.
Is there any sign when we get like on top of the bodies? Is there any sign of how they died?
Yeah, absolutely. So the first two bodies you walk past are both wearing Templar armor and tabards. I mean, you've seen at this stage, all of you have seen a lot of people cut down in a melee. They look like that. One of the Templars has kind of a great cleaving blow that's crashed through their helm and must have killed them instantly. The other one appears to have taken a number of wounds, one of which was to the abdomen, which has bled extremely heavily and soaked into the soil all around them. That probably finished them off.
Can we get a sense of, I guess, the size of the assailants? Like, are we talking humanoid size, or are we talking?
They look like well, that's a good question, I suppose. They look like they were cut from human size bladed weapons.
Okay,
is that maybe indicative that this wasn't done by elves, because elves tend to carry bows, or is that just an assumption I'm making?
I mean, at least one elf killed someone with a throwing axe that you have met. So you don't know.
Well, me and Aaron met him anyway.
Yeah. Anyway, you are on the outskirts of it now. There are more bodies that you can see further in, including the one in priestly robes.
Are we closer to the Sun Temple here, or to the sort of bunkhouses and stuff?
I mean, both essentially.
Okay.
They're almost in a little, not in a circle, but like the bunkhouses. If the Sun Temple is here, the bunkhouses are just like in a sort of semicircle round.
Cool. I suppose what I was getting at is like in roughly the order that we were going nearest these things on the way into the clearing. I wanted to just like take a look at the temple is mainly a hole in the ground, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So I wanted to like look at the holes, see if because there were some semi-permanent ropes there and stuff.
There are, and they are still there.
Okay. Any sense of movement down there, or any noise?
It's very difficult to tell. As when you came here the first time and went down to take a look, it is quite big, but also it's oddly dark. And it's the same now. Like, you can only really see maybe 10 or 12 feet down into there, and the floor goes down deeper than that. So,
okay,
not that you can see, but you can't see very well.
Cool. And then also just like looking at the bunkhouses. I don't know if there are windows or head through the door otherwise. But
there are not windows, but you can definitely kind of like all the doors are open.
Yeah. So just making sure that we, as far as I can tell, that we're alone here.
Mm-hmm. Sure, absolutely. And while Elintra is doing that, and you know what, Revelia will go with you, obviously, and DeGesto as well will kind of poke his head in after you. You go into the first bunkhouse, and it seems empty, and it also you know what? Give me I'm happy with either vigilant or cunning.
They're both the same for me. I need a 10. I've got a 13, so that's a fail.
Never mind. You can also do it for Revelia if you want.
Oh, sure. Vigilant or cunning? That would be cunning for Revelia. She needs a 9. That's a fail as well.
Okay. Never mind. Steo and Anton, I'm assuming you're with Askarai and Arendar as they just kind of walk further towards where there are more bodies.
Yeah, I might Askarai, do you think you could work out from what's left of the tracks to see what direction these assailants came from? It must have been more than a small band.
I can certainly look for tracks. I mean, I think around here, I'm guessing around where there's lots of bodies, it's just going to be like footsteps everywhere, probably.
Yes. A very quick look at the ground shows a lot of tracks.
Okay.
I mean, there will have been a lot of tracks here anyway, but like, yeah, there's quite a lot of kind of foot-based chaos that seems to have gone on around here. You might have a better look circling the camp and sort of seeing where lots of tracks come and go. That might be a better indication, because you don't think you definitely can't track any individual in all this.
Yeah, I think we need to try and clear it out, but definitely we can look for tracks arriving or leaving once we're sure we're alone here.
Yeah.
Okay.
Must have been a few people.
Well, while Steo and Asker are having that conversation, why don't we have a vigilant roll from Father Anton, just because he's the one not doing anything else?
I make it.
Okay. You spot a body nearby that is not dressed in what looks like typical Templar gear or priestly robes. They're dressed in something darker, and they're kind of like prone near one of the bunkhouses, kind of like almost rolled next to it.
Okay, I will go on over and take a close look.
Okay. At first, you think you must have been mistaken, because you kind of roll them over. That this is a Templar, but they're not wearing Templar colours. They're tabard rather than the white and gold or yellow or orange of a typical Sun Knight. Is black surmounted with a red sun. But in every other way, it looks to be a Templar. And you know what? Give me a cunning roll at +2 as well.
Yeah, I make it.
The tabard with the black tabard with the red sun is a very recent rush job.
Okay. Yeah. Is it called the Church of the Dying Sun? The
Knights
faction?
of Dead. All the Knights of Dead Prios, or
Okay. Yeah. Just wanted to make that clear before I tell everyone else what this means. Okay. Oh, yeah, I will call everyone over and indicate the body and tell them this could be who committed this massacre.
Oh, I knew it.
Church warfare.
Alindra. Kind of a stage whisper, I suppose. Alindra.
What?
Kind of call you over, because I imagine you're still kind of looking at the
you're
bunkhouse.
nosing around the bunkhouse. Yeah.
Knights of the Dying Sun. I assume immediately recognise the insignia. I've had enough contact with them now.
That was not a big surprise, but I was kind of hoping it would just be a raid from the north. I was kind of hoping.
They seem to be the most dangerous thing around at the moment.
That goes with what was saying of the Templar splitting from the church. Oh God, I hate church politics.
The problem is, if you convince yourself that your god is dead, you remove all constraints, all rules, anything becomes possible. And if your mission is revenge, there is never an end to it. I don't know what we do. Well, I think it's beyond our power to do anything about them. But I don't see what's going to make them stop.
But do you understand why they would come and attack here? I understand they think Prios is dead, but what?
Well, to them, presumably active priests and worshippers of Prios are a kind of blasphemy.
But
tactically speaking, you send. Tactically speaking, you want to send your army up to where the largest concentration of defenders are. There were a lot of Templar here.
I suppose we already knew that they were in the forest, right?
But they didn't kill everyone on Garvosti, did they? They just sent them away. Maybe they came here for the Templars, and a few of them decided not to play along.
Perhaps they came to recruit and it went wrong.
But our information is woefully out of date on all this. Who knows? How recent is this, do you think? In fact, as a question I can answer, can't I? Yeah, I'll go and take a closer look at I suppose the Templar.
Yeah, the which one? The good or evil Templar asterisk on
The
both.
evil Templar.
Sure. You think they died? I never know what brackets to have. You think they died no more than a couple of days ago. So I mean,
2
obviously,
days.
I mean, really, you have a small time frame to work with anyway, because like it's the time in which you travelled from Fire Maroon and back. But like, yeah, this is recent. They've barely
Yeah.
started decomposing, and this is Davakar.
2 days. So this is more recent than the information we have about Carvosti.
Is it possible to inspect the body of this Templar and see if there's anything else on it, like any other insignia or notes or anything like that?
Yeah, absolutely. Go ahead and give me a cunning roll.
No, that's a big old fail.
Oh, sorry. Were you more searching him than kind of? Sorry, I think I kind of gave you a medicus thing. Give me.
I wouldn't have passed it if it was a vigilant check, if that makes it any easier.
Yeah, fair enough. Fair enough.
Oh, I hope the old woman's okay.
There is. Yeah, there's only one more body left. It's much further in the center of the bunkhouses and dressed in curia robes.
How many bodies are there total that we've seen?
So far, you found 3.
Okay, and there were quite a few more people than
Oh,
that here.
yeah, there were loads of people here. There were probably about
Okay.
30 Ambrians here.
Right. So there's a lot of people missing still.
We need to check the temple.
Yeah.
I'm thinking that as well.
Get over to the temple.
Okay. Well, yeah, you go over to the temple. What are you going to do?
Do we have to climb down ropes or ladders to get down?
Yeah, down ropes.
You'll be a pincushion if there are archers down there. Let me go first.
All right.
Okay. I don't think we needed rolls the first time because they're like, well, I think they're like rope ladders, right? Dangled down.
They're fairly
Theo-
frequently used, aren't they?
Yeah,
Lots of different kinds of
constantly.
people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Steo, you kind of start climbing down. You feel that odd, warm, dark closeness that you felt the first time when you climbed down into the Sun Temple. I take it after you are a certain way down, you're going to like look over your shoulder and try and see.
Yeah.
Okay. The Sun Temple looks more or less as it was when you left, with one difference. It's completely empty.
Okay. I'll call up to the others and say it's safe to come down. Might be better as well.
Heading down.
Okay.
And then I guess take a look around. Check there's nothing, no clues or signs of struggle or more bodies
Sure.
or anything like
give
that.
Give me a vigilant roll. But it's quite dark down here, so knock -3 off it, shall we? Same as Fire Maroon. Seems to make sense.
Yeah, that. Rolled a 12, so just made it.
And if we want a reminder of what the Sun Temple looks like when there are people in it, there we go. Sorry, what did you roll there, Sam?
I just made it with a 12.
Okay. This place looks exactly as it was when you left it. There are even tools lying on the ground, but no people.
Okay.
Well, you can give me a cunning roll on top of that, please.
Okay. Nope, just failed.
Oh.
So
We're missing quite a lot of Ambrians.
we are missing a lot of Ambrians.
Possibly they've joined the Knights of the Dying Sun.
Or been taken by them.
I feel, while it might be somewhat out of character for me to point out, one does not pass up opportune moments to explore areas of places that are previously off limits. There is a whole second level to this place. And if I want to make everyone fully aware that if anyone else had said this, I would have told them it's a bad idea. And for the record, it is a bad idea.
Well, there might be bodies, clues there.
I think the main clues for this are going to be found doing a circuit of the glade to try and find where this group came from. And I think we will learn more if we go to the dock.
Yep. But at the very least, if there is a space here that we know exists and haven't checked, we need to check it to make sure that nothing is, or nobody is lurking in there.
That's a way to look at it. Another way to look at it is it's off limits to Ambrians, probably for a reason.
Let's
Off
have a look.
limits to Ambrians.
Well, they said there was no entrance for members of the public.
I'm sure. You make it sound like Ambrians aren't allowed in because they're Ambrian. But
Or we could just tie Askray to a stick and kind of roll him out in front of it.
I'm fairly sure that it was Ambrians that told us that we couldn't go in there.
Yeah.
it totally is, yeah. Okay. So where are you? Tell me exactly what you're doing. Well, it's only Chris that said this, so anyone else can kick back or whatever.
Now that Steo's planted the idea, Lynch's not letting go of that.
Yeah, we gotta have a look. Was it like stairs down to that we'd been told for like the?
Yeah, there was like a couple of kind of just general gaps in the floor. There's a set of stairs down to what looks like a doorway, and there's a sort of almost like ramp-like path in one corner that seems to kind of move round to a lower area.
We try the doorway first. See if it goes anywhere.
Yep.
Sure. You trudge down the steps and try the doorway, which does not move. It's a relatively large stone door in a stone frame.
Okay.
Does it look like or does it seem like there would be some kind of mechanism that would open it?
There is a hole in the door that may be comparable with a keyhole.
Okay.
Someone is going to have to take some lockpicking classes when we go home.
I guess so.
We're not blowing it up.
I'm interested in security and discovering clues, not vandalism.
Okay, I guess let's try another way down.
Yeah.
Besides, I'm superstitious enough not to try and blow up Prios's oldest temple.
Yeah, there is that.
Probably smart.
We're going over to one of the holes in the floor, the ramp. What are we doing?
Let's look down the ramp.
Yeah.
Okay. It looks pretty dark down there, far darker than it is here, and it's quite dim here.
Torches. So, Steve will unpack a torch from his pack and get it running.
Okay.
So we're going to head down.
You're going to head down. People seem mildly allergic to telling me their actions tonight, but please do.
It's very spooky.
Sure, yeah. Are you going down the ramp as a group? That kind of sounds like it.
I think only one of us has lit a torch, so I guess
Sure,
we're kind of huddled in the pool of light.
Sure. And you know what? That pool of light seems excessively small for what, it seems like the further down you are going, the more this oppressive kind of close, warm darkness seems to pervade. But your torch is just bright enough that you can see you appear to be in quite a large area, kind of comparable roughly to the size of the above area. There seem to be some columns and statues on either side, and there's kind of a lot of earth and detritus on the floor that seems to have been moved away in a concerted fashion in areas, but not completely in the same way it has upstairs, where there are like rubble piles that have been pushed together to kind of like consolidate all that stuff.
So it's like an earlier stage of an active excavation.
Yes, exactly like that, Steve.
I want to. So, one, it's clear there's no one else down here, but
yeah, there is no one and there are no bodies, but it takes quite a lot. If you want to examine every corner of this chamber, it's going to take quite a while because you can only see about 6 feet in front of you.
I do want to, and I'll be saying this. So, no one's hiding down here, but I do want to take a look at some of these statues, just on the off chance that I learned something.
This place small enough that we can split up.
Yeah,
Sure.
yeah, sure. Like you'd probably be able to at least see each other's dim lights, you know?
Yeah, sure. Normally when adventuring, just like wandering off on your own is a terrible idea, but I figure we're in a fairly enclosed space with sight lines, or at least or sound between us. So
yeah,
I'm going to light a torch and strike off in a direction, and we'll see if we can just cover ground a bit faster between us that way.
Sure.
Yeah, I'll do the same. But I will say to Anton, are you happy doing this, Father? I'm not sure.
It depends what we're here for. I thought we were coming down to check if there's anyone alive down here, or even more bodies.
I have my questions on that as well. What
I just
are
want to
we
make
here
sure.
for?
I just want to make sure that it's secure.
It's secure. What do we mean secure?
That there's nobody hiding here, that there's no bodies here that we've missed.
All right. Okay.
Yeah, so we'll try and appraise some of these. Steve was 100% kind of wants to see if there's anything that pushes the decision logic on this temple towards Prios or away from Prios, because we're already kind of not certain.
Mm-hmm. Sure. Why don't you give me a vigilant roll -5, please? Okay. On a circuit of this floor of the temple, you notice a number of things to do with the statues. Almost all of them correspond directly with the statues that were above, which were that the statues seemed kind of like oddly varied in like their pose and their stance. Most of them were holding or surmounted with circular or kind of like crescent shapes that were kind of comparable to how people represent the sun in various ways. You happen across here a statue, one of the statues in one of the better shapes of these that you've seen. The statue is tall, kind of robust looking, is surmounted by a large disc, and is absolutely 100% definitely intended to be female. Seems an odd thing for a temple dedicated entirely to Prios, as you know him.
That's another notch on this is not a Priosic temple. Yeah, so Steve's not going to spend a huge amount of time here. I don't even think I'll do a circuit. I think I'll just kind of, once I've caught this revelation, I'll kind of head back to the entrance and make sure everyone else is thinking of doing the same.
Is Alindra's group doing anything while they're there?
I'm not going to do an exhaustive inch by inch search. It is mainly a sanity check. But yeah, like if she stumbles across something, she stumbles across something. Like,
Sure.
In much the same way that Steo just did, except I think Alindra had already come to the conclusion that this wasn't Prios, not as we knew him.
Sure.
So.
I mean, all you can really do is roll a vigilance, see if you also notice the same statue, but there's like with a relatively like slow walk around, there's no.
Yes, I did spot that too. So.
Okay. Was it at -5?
Oh, I did not spot it. Not at -5. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, it doesn't take you too long to move around. Like I say, it's not huge. It's large but not huge. And yeah, you probably meet in the middle on the far side, right? I suppose.
Yep. Okay, this is clear. Shall we go back out and check the perimeter of the clearing?
Yeah, maybe
I
the
don't like
dock.
this dark.
Okay.
I wonder when we're in the second level down, can we see the holes from above?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Just checking.
Okay, so we head back up the ramp and then back up the rope ladder, I suppose.
Yep.
To leave the Sun Temple be. Yeah, you emerge back into the clearing. Nothing has changed. Still, the body's there. There's the body in priest robes.
Should we head down to the dock first? Seems that
It's a long walk. Let's do the circuit here.
The dock is a day's travel.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, this is basically just a clearing, right?
Mm-hmm.
Ascarai, are you the best person to? Well, I know that Ascarai is the best person. Do you want to do a circuit? See if we can find. There should be a lot of footprints somewhere.
Yeah, I'll have a look. It might take me a while, but
It's okay. I will.
Elindra, do you want to help? In fact, Anton, do you want to tell us the best way you want to do the last rites here?
I think we need a pyre, but I'm hesitant to light such a thing. Might attract attention that we don't want.
Perhaps when we're ready to leave, we can build it now. I'm happy to collect wood and do whatever else is appropriate, Father.
I'd like to
see if
say some words to the bodies.
I'm going to see if there's any provisions left where we could do with viticuling.
Food looting.
Fluting.
Okay, so it sounds like someone needs to check the rest of the bunkhouses. It sounds like we need to move all the bodies to where we're going to burn them. Who's doing? It sounds like Chris is looking at the bunkhouses. Askar is going to look at tracks. Elindra,
moving bodies, collecting
bodies.
firewood, building
Sure.
pyre.
Okay. Well, first off, Steo, can you give me a vigilant roll, please?
That sounds like it's flat.
Mm-hmm.
Vigilant that's a fail.
Okay. You certainly don't see any sign of any other supplies. Ascarai, you know what you're doing with rolling for tracks. I'll leave you to do that because you have your re-rolls and things of that nature.
I have a re-roll for following tracks. I don't know if that counts for this or not.
Yeah,
Finding.
I think so.
Okay.
Yeah. So you go ahead and do that. And in the meantime, Elindra, you obviously there's the 3 Templars, a few steps closer to the priest body, which I have to admit I'm in deep shock. No one bothered to look at it before you went down to the Sun Temple. Reveals that you're probably feeling a bit split over this because it is most definitely the body of Father Pyramai.
Huh.
He has been cut almost from shoulder to waist, probably with a heavy blow from a bladed weapon.
So he made his pilgrimage here.
Well, yeah, he brought him here.
We brought him here?
Yep. From the
Kind of. We were keeping you at arm's length, weren't we?
He walked from the dock to here with you.
We definitely
okay.
arrived at the same time as him.
Yeah. He was, just to jog my memory, he was also the guy that we'd originally met up on Carvosti, right?
Correct.
That
He was
Anton had met.
Yeah, he was the High Father of the Sun Temple on Carvosti, who was a very objectionable, preachy, bigoted man. And he was driven away from there by the Knights of Dead Prios, and apparently they came here and
Yep.
yeah,
He was the bad Baramo.
sure.
Yeah.
It was also him who was it him who supposedly took the hammer? Is that right?
Yeah.
From Almendra.
Okay. I will indicate this that it's Father Perimeter Anton, if he hadn't seen, but we'll otherwise move him next to the Templars and the Knight of Dead Prios, who I'm quite pointedly intending to put on the par with the rest of them.
Difficult times to come to terms with what forgiveness means.
These Templars may no longer believe in Prios's light, but that doesn't mean that they don't deserve it.
I can agree with that. And I think, as we've seen, it's very easy for people to get swept along in the desires of powerful people. And people can be coerced into doing some awful things. And we don't know this ex-Templar story. But I'd like to think that they were just led astray.
De Gesto is sort of he helped drag the bodies over, and he stood nearby, sort of peeling a fruit he's plucked from a tree in Davakar with his kind of like eating knife. He sort of shakes his head and says, "You two are a lot more forgiving of a man who came to a place like this with violence in mind than I am. But since you're both of the church, I suppose that's only right."
I'm not that forgiving. The point is, it's not about whether I'm forgiving.
Prios. Sure. I had more faith in my younger days, Sir Knight.
I mean, likewise. But what I had has not entirely abandoned me.
Well, I hope you hold on to it. Askarai, how did you do on your rolls?
Rolled a 1.
Ooh, 1. Okay. A not insignificant number of people, maybe 10 or so, arrived here a few days ago. They left shortly after with more people, a few more people, and then about probably over 20 people left after them. You don't know the spans of time at which these things occurred.
What direction did they come
all
from?
They came from the dock. They left towards the dock on the kind of like rough forest path leading in that direction. You can't find any other tracks around the clearing heading out, other than the occasional very old kind of like 1 or 2 people who are probably going out hunting.
Yeah.
Going out to take a shit in the forest, things like that.
Okay. I'll report this back to the group. Seems like a group arrived a few days ago. They left shortly afterwards with a few more. And then after that, a lot more people left. All headed to and from the dock. No one from the forest.
So this is supposition, but that sounds like a recruitment drive, a raid, a recruitment drive, and then the camp was abandoned.
Yeah. Maybe they came here looking for specific people, found them and left.
Hell of a thing to abandon a temple to Prios.
I would like Elindra and everyone but Askarai, feel free to roll cunning at, let's say, -2.
I make it.
Fail.
Anton, why would a temple to Prios matter to them anymore?
Yeah.
This
So
this
I think-
certainly displays a very swift and decisive move to violent nihilism.
Yeah. It doesn't look like they were here to loot the place. It doesn't look like they were here to learn more and establish a new camp at the Sun Temple. They were here. They were here for the people.
I still
Well-
don't. Do you think the goals of these knights are to destroy the church? Is that it?
Church is the representation of Prios, right? If they don't believe in Prios, they don't believe in the church, and they want to convert people to their belief that Prios doesn't exist.
I don't think it stops there, though.
Sorry, if I can, because Elindra has read their holy book.
Yeah.
Just for your information, to clarify, it is definitely not that they don't believe in Prios anymore. They absolutely believe in Prios, but they think he is dead, and now the only thing left is to take vengeance on the darkness that killed him.
Yeah, they think he's been murdered by agents of the Eternal Night during the war in Alberator.
And they see Davakar and those who would call Davakar their home, and anyone who stops them gaining vengeance as part of that darkness.
Yeah. So the custodians of a temple of Prios, priests, Templars, like maybe ripe for recruitment, maybe collateral damage to cut down if the recruitment doesn't work, but their goal is this forest and everyone and everything in it. This is what I mean when I say that when they've set themselves down a path of revenge, I don't know what's going to stop them.
Existential revenge. That's
When the world kills your god, what do? You wage war against the whole world.
Look, I can fight a troll. I can maybe fight a handful of elves. I can't take on a whole army. A whole army of psychopaths.
As you were having this discussion, DeGesto has grabbed some dry vegetation from the forest, scattered it on the corpses, along with a little bit of his of whatever potent liquid is in his hip flask, and is kind of like standing there with a flint and tinder, glancing at Anton.
What time of day is it, Matt? I seem to recall it was getting on a bit, but I may have misremembered that.
I'm not sure I mentioned it's well, we determined it's like 3 days travel between Farmaroon and the Sun Temple, right? And you left Farmaroon I don't know, let's call it midday.
Okay.
I think if we set that pyre, it should be the last thing we do before we leave. That was your idea, wasn't it, Elindra?
Are we not leaving now?
Where are we going? Do we go to the dock?
Where else would we go?
Where
I mean,
else
even
would
if we don't have a boat there anymore, we're still going to need to follow the river to get back to wherever we want to go.
I find myself confused again. Are we not going back to Karvosti?
Right. I'm going to make the second stupid thing I say today. Karvosti is southeast. Or Skarvasti is southwest. Steel will
Southwest.
point roughly southwest. We could go through the jungle, join the river further down, avoid going near the docks.
No.
No. Why?
The river's the safest way to travel to and from here. You're talking about taking a path through untraveled jungle.
It would take weeks.
It's already going to be a week. Now. We don't have the supply. Do you think these dead Prios fellows are lying in wait on the road on the path for us?
Well, if they were lying in wait anywhere, it would be at those docks. But no, do you know what? You're right. You're right.
I don't think that we'll meet them at the docks. We may meet them somewhere up or down the river. They're clearly using it for their own transport, and who knows where they're heading after this.
They now have, if what we've heard is true, a stronghold on the plateau. They're probably going the same place we are.
Seems likely, if they're not there already. I don't know what their well, I've got some idea what their numbers are, which is, think of all of the Templars in the world, most of them.
Aye, but they won't mostly be there, will they? Will they not have taken over Temple Wall?
I suspect both Davokar and Ambria are crawling with them now.
I take your point, Sergeant, but
I think the risk
you're all right.
The risk of running into them on the river is a risk that we're going to have to take. We can get to Karvosti and see what we can see when we're there and assess whether it's even safe to try to go up there.
I think that's the thing. Perhaps, I totally agree we need to follow the river. I mean, maybe on the journey we can discuss whether Karvosti is a place we want to be, especially with a priest who believes in Prios being alive with us, or whether we head to Archbridge and see if we can head straight from there to the island.
Well, we at least need to go to Archbridge and restock supplies.
I agree.
I mean, that they didn't just slaughter all the priests is a good start, right?
Yeah, a good start. But
I wanted to stick a blade in that one, and he was only walking with us for a day or so.
I'm not saying anyone deserves death by the blade, but that one was close.
For a bunch of killers, you're awfully... never mind.
Go on, light it up. Let's make a start while we've got daylight.
He does so, and the corpses, they definitely don't erupt into flames so much as start to smolder and then slowly starts to take. It's definitely going to be a symbolic pyre more than an actual one. So...
Right, we need to camp. Camp off the road tonight, such that the road is
okay. So you start your travel south. Obviously, when the day ends, as you say, you camp off the road to no significant incident. You don't hear or see anything untowards. Go on.
Can I unleash my ring during the evening for the first time?
Sure. When you say that, do you want to say what you're doing?
Yep. So one of the powers of the ring, I'm going to avoid Lord of the Rings puns as much as possible during the next segment, is that I can send a message via dream, which is a series of images to someone who I am aware exists, who is also some form of Iron Pact member. So I would like to send basically a summary of our events so far to Tiara Tiana.
Ooh, is it any member of the Iron Pact?
Anyone who I know exists and have reason to believe is in the Iron Pact. And given she tipped us off to the existence of the other elf, it's only right that I check into her with this.
Okay.
No, it's a series of images. I can talk through the images as well if you'd like, but it's basically going to be a brief summary of what's transpired.
Okay.
Maybe avoiding the bits where we were legitimately doing property damage to ancient Symbaroum relics, but kind of the high level stuff.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. You do that. You have no idea if it worked.
Guess I'll find out tomorrow.
It's
night.
not like a it's not like a
Yeah,
conversation. So, but yeah, you give her the meta recap you did at the beginning of the stream, essentially, right? Sure.
Yeah, that's yeah.
Places you've gone, the people you've encountered, that kind of thing. Sure. Okay. All right. When you rouse yourself in the morning, something is very apparent. The ground is starting to turn soft underfoot. A gentle rain is falling, but not a cold one. And for the first time this year, Prios shows his face to the degree where a couple of you are removing parts of your garments, because the morning is warm, and Davakar is almost pleasant as you walk along the forest path, and therefore with decent footing to it. You make good time and arrive at the River Malgamore probably shortly before noon. What you find is the outpost that was there with the small kind of tavern, the dock. It's all there, but there is no one.
Are there any boats or canoes tied up at the dock?
Were yours there? Did you have? Yeah,
we must have.
I think they must.
Didn't we bring them on? We brought them on land, didn't we? I distinctly recall we did some work to at least.
Were they tied up? Like were they secured somewhere secret, or were they generally just?
Yeah, did we stash them on the other side of the river or something?
No, because I would have remembered swimming across the Malgamore. But what I do recall is definitely hauling them up. I'm not going to say secret, but definitely not kind of in the parking lot.
No, but also not masterfully hidden.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, they are gone.
I imagine Thunderbuzz's hammer's gone as well. If I check out by the old guard post,
where did you gave that to the ranger for safety?
We left it in the care of the ranger. Yeah.
Okay. Give me a vigilant roll. No. Give me a vigilant roll. No, never mind.
Gosh, damn it!
Well, looks like we're walking.
Or we're building a raft. God damn, that hammer was worth money. Prios's teats.
It was a bit impractical to have brought on a makeshift raft, though.
Do you know what I always say? There's two things come out of this forest. It's money and it's problems, and this time we have got nothing but problems. Bloody flipping Templars. No offense.
Can we do a quick?
I didn't do this, Theo.
Can we do a quick survey of the site? Because there were a few buildings, right? There was the sort of a rudimentary pub, and there was a ranger's booth and stuff like that.
Yeah, the ranger had a little hut by the dock. There was a small tavern, which is already going to disrepair, even just presumably a couple of days later, honestly, because it was only ever a ramshackle thing. And there was like a small stable next to it. Yeah, you can very quickly scour it all. It's not difficult at all. Everything is empty. And go ahead and make a cunning roll.
Yep.
Everything seems to be cleared out pretty fast.
Okay. But it was cleared out.
Everything has been cleared out. Yes. There is everything that there are a few scattered things around. None of them are useful. Like, people took useful things with them and left everything that wasn't useful. So, like, chairs are there and stuff, right?
Can I just double check that there's like corresponding tracks here to what I found at the place?
I mean, the tracks here are more difficult because there's also the a small settlement's worth of people. But yeah, it corresponds. Like certainly the tracks you found corresponded all the way up to here, although they have been kind of sloughing away with the soft spring rain.
Okay. I think we're better off walking than making a raft, honestly. I don't know.
Steele will be kind of sat on the quay wall, starting to look very dejected. Like we could make due south, cross the Ainor, and go straight to Thistleholds. We could go to Cylinder's Hope. The carrots, they also.
Cylinder's Hope is a long way away to the east.
Yeah, but Steele was literally grasping at straws.
What have you got against going back to Carvosti?
I don't know what's there. I don't even know what's at Bridge End. Like, is it encamped? Is there an army around it? Who's running that army? Is it?
We're not going to know what's going on anywhere unless we go there. The alternative is to sit here until the insects bite you to death. We've got to move. Now, there is a question about whether we do that on a raft or on foot. And there's a question, if we're going on foot, do we try to double speed it? Do we try to travel through the night as well to try to catch up with these folks? They were not more than a couple of days ahead of us, and they've got our boats, and they outnumber us.
And they've got our boats, and they're going downriver. We aren't going to catch them on foot.
Yeah,
I don't think we can catch them, and I don't think we particularly want to catch them. I mean, unless someone here is great at building rafts, maybe DeGesto, I don't know, but otherwise, I'd say we just set off down the river. While we're going, maybe we get to Archbridge first. We can ask around, see what the situation might be in Carvosti, and decide where we go from there.
I'm not sure you'd get to Archbridge first.
Did we head off?
Archbridge is definitely before Carvosti.
Yeah, maybe it is.
Archbridge is like it's where we.
Oh yeah.
Probably any route that we're likely to take using the river to Carvosti is.
We'll go through Archbridge. Yeah.
So okay, we ford the river here. We go on the south bank. We circle Archbridge and enter it from the north, or if we enter it from the south. We just gotta. I know nothing about what's out there, and it scares me.
Sergeant, are you all right?
I'm really not, DeGesto.
You seem to be having some kind of crisis.
I'm not.
We need to go back to Carvosti. Gather up. We just need to walk back to Carvosti. Takes a week. I've walked it multiple times, this very path. We'll gather supplies, gather ourselves, you make a decision if I'm welcome or not, and then Yeffer on Isle, no?
Right, whatever happens, if we're going to Carvosti, we have to go by Archbridge. If we get into Archbridge surreptitiously, we can learn what's going on, and if there's even a Carvosti left, if it isn't New Castoria or something.
I don't know what you think has happened in the last few weeks.
That's just it. I don't know anything. I know there's another army, another power, another leg to the power tripod in Ambria. That's staffed by psychopaths.
DeGesto is literally going to shake his head and stand up and start walking.
Before we start walking, is there any way we can make a couple of rudimentary rafts out of some of the structures that are still standing here? There's wood, presumably, that's been used to make these things.
Wood and stone, but yeah. You can stay here and yes. My question would be how good at you are doing that.
I mean, just lashing a few, lengths of wood together.
We've
got DeGesto.
roll. like, I don't know whether this is whether I want to talk to Anton or Mike, but like, if you do that on a fast spring river like the Malgamore, like a few bits of wood lashed together, you will drown within 10 minutes.
Okay.
But it's up to you whether Anton knows that or not.
I don't think Anton does know that.
Like,
he's throwing it out there.
You would have to make a concerted effort to build some river-ready rafts that would last a few days to travel downriver.
It's sort of based off how long it took them to build the canoes for us.
They didn't build the canoes for you. You bought the canoes.
They had those. They had built those. They presumably took quite a long time to build.
Yes, I would say that building river-ready canoes would take you almost as long as walking to Kavos.
Okay, that's fine.
Or certainly that plus the travel would probably be longer than walking there.
Yeah. So we'll build the canoes because it's a good experience for us all.
Yeah.
Bonding, yeah.
Anton might not know that, but like, yeah.
We were going to sell those canoes back.
Yeah, I think we were going to get our money back for them or something.
Yeah, you're going to get your deposit back.
I was going to sell that bloody hammer. It was a good $20 there.
I really don't know if we have money to get a boat to Yeffron Isle.
We have a whole satchel full of etiquette. That'll go for enough.
I want to consider these problems when I'm sat somewhere resembling civilization, please.
Let's get walking.
Bold of you to assume that place still exists.
I
still think we should ford the river sooner rather than later.
Yeah, we're procrastinating. Let's go down
the North
South
Bank has nearly killed us on 2 occasions.
Matt, does Archbridge straddle the river?
No.
The bridge is nowhere near the river. Well, it's
correct. It is. I mean, it's near the river in that the settlement is on the border of the river. The bridge looks like it's crossing a river that isn't, like the river has moved.
Yeah. So is Archbridge on the north side or the south side of the river?
South side.
South side, okay.
Yeah. Okay. So if you set off, you can definitely catch up to DeGesto because he did not stop walking. And as you kind of like stride along the north side of the river, kind of obviously this is what you're doing for a good few days to get anywhere essentially. Definitely at some point we'll have like a moment where we could protectively have some conversations or something, and I'm going to take the first one, which is that DeGesto will find an excuse to be kind of maybe up front or at the back with Alindra. Doesn't care if Revelia is there, but probably avoids the others. And he's going to lean into you and in a conspiratorial whisper that's probably about as quiet as DeGesto gets, say, "Is there something wrong with the sergeant?"
I think he's just thrown at having lost our transport out.
Right.
He's paranoid of this forest at the best of times, and I can't say that he's wrong about that.
When men start talking like he does, it's usually a good sign they're going to desert. Which seems at odds with his grand speeches of the Iron Pact and saving us from a darkness. That's all I'm saying. I'm not trying to... But why...
I don't know about desertion, DeGesto, but I can certainly keep an eye on him. He's obviously finding things difficult right now. I think we all are.
Fine. Maybe when we get back after a drink or two, he'll have steadied his nerves. Anyway, barely my business.
You're not wrong. He's lost right now.
All right. Just needed to get it off my chest, that's all.
Okay.
He strides on, grumbling to himself slightly. Okay, let's do a quick tour and we can talk about any kind of thing or like conversation we want to have or anything like that. As I say, spring has definitely broken. Walking along the river is definitely probably more pleasant than paddling upriver during the end of the winter. Although everything I said about insects, you can ramp that up to like a factor of 10 or so, right? You're walking along a fairly significant river at the beginning of spring. There are a lot of biting insects around. But first off, oh, well, there we go. Steo, the man being complained about. Why don't you, is there any conversation you want to have? Anything you want to do as we're striding to the west?
Steo is probably going to, like, maybe on the hour complain that we should be on the south bank of the river.
Sure.
I've
had a think about it, and I think that I have actually established that the best ford on this, I don't think the Malgamore could be easily forded, especially at the end of winter. To the point where I'd say that if you want to cross the river, it is of course possible, but it's dangerous. And like, as long as you pick a place that hasn't got rapids and do things like use rope and, you know, take all heavy things off and wrap them in a package, it is at this point a fast flowing river of a width of what, like 20 feet. It's deep. It does nothing to be sniffed at. So I don't know. Like, it's up to you. Do you want to try and dangerously ford the river?
Steo will keep raising it, but
okay.
But he's also not kind of going to walk into the water in a huff, like.
Sure.
I'm pretty sure that the spirit that we fought on the riverbank was on the south side. I know
No,
it was north. He is
everything
right.
bad is on the north side of this river.
The only thing I think you've encountered on the south side of the river in your various travels was the ogre that came out of like the chrysalis. Although that just ran off.
I really thought the spirit with the weird name was on the south, because why would we be on the north side?
I'm pretty sure it was the north side, yeah.
Okay. Well, still, I maybe let's wait until if we find a really great place to ford. We've got days of travel before we get anywhere. Let's just wait until we find an ideal spot, and then we can think about it.
I would say that the only, like, you can definitely cross the river at Archbridge. Like, it wouldn't be a ford. There'll be ferrymen who can take you across. I would say that on your way here, I am going to put, this is canon now, the only easy place to ford the Malgamore between Volgoma and as far as you've been is the road to Garvosti, which is basically cuts through at exactly the point where the Malgamore, like, you know, starts to spread out into becoming like a wider basin. Is that the right term? I don't know. Like a
estuary.
An estuary, much
delta.
wider, shallower as it opens up into Lake Volgoma, like, which is might be along with the plateau why Karvosti is there and other settlements are nearby. But I just don't think it's I think that's fairly accurate. I think a lot of fast flowing wide rivers, you just don't ford them for like tens, hundreds of miles, prospectively.
Yeah, we got to choose which bank we were on at any moment on the way up because we had boats.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
If you think any of this is going to stop Steo from complaining on the half-hour, I'm afraid you're all very mistaken.
Well, I think, unless someone else disagrees, I think, like, there doesn't seem to be a lot of enthusiasm for it other than Steo, and I think everyone will just tolerate Steo complaining. Is that accurate? Is anyone else going to...
Yep.
Okay. Well, in that case, God, there was less friction between the group when they were revealing all their secrets. Askarai.
Askarai would like to talk to the guest, though, but with other people around.
Sure.
and basically ask him, is there anything you especially need to do in Karvosti?
He's picking a lot of these fruit off the side. They're like, what's a good fruit to find in a temperate forest that's edible without any significant preparation?
I say open your horizons and say it's a durian that's somehow cold weather adapted.
Sure. Yeah, something like that. Well, you know what? It smells like shit. It is very... I mean, I think durian... Does durian only become smelly when like you cook it? Or
when you open it?
No, it's as soon as you open it,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay. Yeah, they're like foul smelling but nice tasting. And he's offered them around before. It's up to you whether you Askray, you are familiar with them. They're perfectly edible. And he's eating like that again. I think durian's soft inside, right? Like very mulchy. Yeah.
Tastes like if fruit was a custard.
Yeah, because it tastes great, right? But it smells horrible.
Well,
I people generally like the taste, but anyway, like he is like spooning bits of it out with his knife and eating them. So much so, I've got so invested in the fruit that I've forgotten what Askrai's actually said.
It was about what Degessa needs to
What
do.
he needs to do when you get
in
to
Karvosti.
He said, "Well, that depends. If we still want to work together, which is mostly, as I've made clear, if you still want me around, we've got a balance to be struck. Speed versus safety. I don't mean to belittle the effectively unintentional sacrifice that our companions made when they came with us to Symbaroum. But I think it's fairly clear that if they hadn't died, the likelihood is one or two of us would not be walking this path. There is safety in numbers. So ideally, I would have the chance to talk to some prospective hirelings, sound them out for experience, competence, bring a few of them on board for a reasonable pay. That just depends how many people there are in Karvosti. Usually there's a whole bunch. Now, with what's happened with the Templars there, the rumors of impending conflict, and the fact that half the forest seems to be engaged in a wild gold rush, who knows? But usually I'd give it 2 or 3 days. Maybe that's quicker there now. Maybe it's not.
Yeah.
And buying supplies and the like, I can go to Cruel Jaws and the marketplace. That's a couple of hours worth.
I'm not against going to Karvosti. I think it may be the best idea, but I'm just trying to figure out exactly what we need and what we're doing. I think if the goal is to get to Yeffron Isle, it'll be up to the plateau and then back down, I guess, to the river again, somewhere along the river to get a boat.
I've heard tell of this isle before. It's difficult to find, apparently. We'll probably want to ask around, get some information. And if anyone knows where to find Yeffron Isle, they'll be on Karvosti. Archbridge is all right. It's not the same. It's mostly barbarian folk there steering clear of this kind of thing. The treasure hunters, the scouts, the guides, they're all on Karvosti, all of them. Either in the pilgrim camp or with the barbarians at the tavern.
Have you ever hired a boat before or anything like that?
For Volgomi, you mean? I've only been a short way up the lake to Jakar. If we want to hire a boat, we should go to Jakar.
Okay.
Perhaps past Karvosti. We can go Karvosti and then we can swing down to Jakar. If we're lucky, we'll find someone who'll just take us all the way. Not like rent a boat out, but for ourselves, rent a crew.
Yeah. Cheap. If the best place is Jakar, then I think that makes the decision easier to try Karvosti. Because like you say, we have to go past anyway.
I have no objection to ducking into Archbridge. pick up some supplies, get the lay of the land, ask for rumors, ask for news. That's all fine. I don't know. I just don't know why the sergeant thinks that Karvosti isn't there or something.
I think he's concerned about it. I mean, there's certainly unknowns in Karvosti, and it wasn't a safe place when we were there before, and it sounds like it hasn't gotten any safer. I mean, we had to fight some attack off. There were a bunch of people there who, as far as I've ever seen, are not normally in Karvosti. And, it's a concern.
From what I've heard you tell, you're in the High Chieftain's good graces, though, right?
That's true. That's true. I do.
Hell. Maybe there's some way we can get an audience with him.
Yeah. Although I feel that perhaps attracting more attention to ourselves, given that our route likely leads us under Karvosti, which certainly is not a place they're going to want us to be, is maybe something to avoid.
Aye, they do like their witches, don't they?
Yeah.
All right. But anyway, that's what my plan was.
All right. I guess we can see. I mean, like you say, we could ask in Archbridge, but maybe we just head straight to Karvosti and see what the rumors are going up the cliff, the path up the cliff. There's always people there.
And it's not far.
Okay. Well, we'll see how we go.
Okay. We've just gone round in a semicircle here. Stephen.
Hey. So I don't think that there's anything that Elindra particularly wants to talk about with the other player characters. I think she will make a point of trying to spend some time with Revelia, as doing as best she can, kind of training, mentoring kind of stuff. Obviously, like Elindra's just completely lost in life herself, so like I don't know how effective that would be, but like I guess she has more kind of combat experience. She's seen more of the forest, so that's one thing.
Seems reasonable.
Elindra, I think, also has a sketchbook that she's drawn some stuff and taken some rubbings before and things like that. So I think she's going to find herself spending some time sketching from memory some of the statues from the temple, and sort of particularly the non-Priossi ones. And I think to her conclusion is that is a maybe a temple of many place, or maybe just something that predates Prios. And I think one of the reasons that she came to Davokar is to try to understand like what's going on with her, and I think she thinks there's probably a connection there. So I think she felt quite drawn to that place.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then on a practical point, at some point there will need to be conversations about hunting and rations and food.
Yeah, although if you stay according to plan, like I don't think it's only like a couple of days either way, so I think it's mostly fine.
We could get to Ironbridge and barter for things.
Yeah, absolutely. Mike, is there anything Anton wants to talk to him about or do?
Yeah, I think I might actually try and chat to Elindra for a few hours. Elindra, there's lots of stuff happening within the church, within like our faith, and we don't often talk about this. And you do not have to say anything to me if you don't want to. But I just wanted to make sure that you know that any faith that you have is real. And the most important part of that is what is up here and in here as well. And I say this only as someone who's a little bit older and has experienced this part of the world a little bit more, but the church, the people within the church, the structures, the power, that is not faith. I've come to learn that.
Yeah, the church is people, flawed people. The church is power structures which are open to abuse. The church is the organization that decided that I was no longer welcome for reasons that they didn't bother to explain. I am, for the most part, angry at the church. But as you say, those are feelings about the church. They are not about faith. Now, my conception of Prios is probably quite different from yours, is probably quite different from what the church would consider to be the correct idea about what Prios is, but that doesn't mean that I hold that faith any less strongly. I searched myself for a while there, asking myself whether or not I thought that the Knights of Dead Prios might have a point, whether there might be something in their arguments, and I cannot buy into it. He's not dead. We see that every day. He's not.
I agree. I've asked that same question to myself. It's human nature to do that, and I feel his presence every day, and he continues to fight for us against the darkness and guide people like yourself and me to fight against the darkness. On a practical level, what would you advise for a man who wears priestly robes before we go back into Archbridge, into Carvosti? Would I be a fool to stride in there wearing such things?
I think you are who you are, and I think your faith is your faith. And I don't think everybody that wears those robes is deserving of my rage in the way that some people who wear those robes are. I do not include you in my anger for the church. It's a choice for you to make. I don't see myself ever getting this tabard repaired, but whether or not you wear those robes is a choice for you. I would not think the less of you either way.
Yeah, I appreciate your counsel on that. I'm happy to leave that there. Oh, sorry.
My counsel for what it's worth.
I appreciate it nonetheless.
Okay. So these are the conversations and activities that occupy your time over the next 6 days. Because unless anything changes or any plan changes, then as the weather gets warmer, the ground underfoot slightly less firm and the insects more fervent, nothing else of any significance happens on your 6 days travel. Chris, yes.
I want to send one more dream message, and then I'm done until someone gets back to me.
Okay, what is your dream message?
I'm going to go and ping our good friend from the forest, Malahai. I'm going to let him know that both the Sun Temple and the jetty are abandoned.
Okay, absolutely. You still receive no communication from, well, anyone.
Anyone, fair enough. Nobody likes me. That's fine.
Sure.
I'm used to that. I mean, that's just, I don't even have to role play that. I'll be honest with you, Matt.
Sorry, I am terrible at sending you my dreams. You reach Archbridge. It's as you approach it from the other side of the river, it is bustling. It is the same as when you left it, really. There it is. when you reach that side of the river opposite Archbridge, you find that there is kind of like a small ferry service there that will take you across and into the town. Is that what we want to do? Yeah, Degesto's perfectly agreeable to this, having been the grumbler against most of Steele's propositions.
Asker will say, what are we going to Archbridge for? What? For information?
Bloody pint, Ascarai. A bloody pint.
We can get a pint on Carvosti.
We don't know.
Get a pint at Archbridge now.
All right.
We get a pint in Archbridge now and find out whether we can get a pint on Carvosti. We stock up on supplies in case we can't stock up on supplies in Carvosti. The world is volatile right now, and we need to understand what's happening in it.
Battlefield logistics, gentlemen. Always understand how far you are from a pint.
Are we taking a bed for the night here?
See what the rumor says.
All right.
Yeah. I see no reason not to spend the night here. Set off tomorrow.
We could camp in that open camp.
Yeah.
Let's make sure we fence the Etiquette and whatever else we can get rid of.
We're doing that here.
Do you think we'll get a better price for it if we wait?
I get a better price for it in Thistlehold. But whatever the group wants.
I mean, we need money for the boat eventually.
I'd rather at least see some Thaler, even if we have to take a bit of a hit on the price.
All right.
All right.
Okay, so there's a number of rolls to be made here. I'm desperately trying to find my notes on Archbridge. I weirdly can't find them. So I don't know when... God, I must have written it down, all that stuff. I can't have just made it up. I definitely didn't just make it up.
If you want me to fill some time while you're looking, Matt, I was just going to ask everyone, where are we in terms of like actual money that you've got in your purse? Because I've got 6 thaler and 6 shillings.
3 thaler, 9 shillings. We're just hobos at this point, I think.
I've got 17 apparently, so not too bad. But...
I think Arendar still has 100 thaler. I have 5 thaler.
You think Aaron has 100?
He needs those 100 in case he's going to bribe some bandits.
Exactly. Yeah. Does anyone have the numbers on how much the Etiquette is worth?
Yes,
because I'm sure I wrote that down, but it has disappeared.
Revelia's looking after it, and our assessment of its value at the time was 61 thaler, to be presumably divided equally between whoever survives. Yeah,
I feel duty bound to be persnickety and point out that it's called Etiquette.
Thank you.
Sure. So how we? I can't find my notes. I know for damn sure I did. Well, lots of it is detailed from the book, so I'm sure I didn't just make it up. But maybe I kind of improvised it because I can't find anything. So the thing I was specifically looking for is what that area is called, where you go camp in Archbridge. That kind of like fenced off area for travelers.
It was called like an inn or a tavern or something, wasn't it?
It's called just a camp or something like that, or like very basic terms. Because it was like the idea was that the Odavs who live here put like a massive emphasis on hospitality, right? So like they're duty bound to provide a place where people can sleep and eat.
I'm sure they called it an inn, even though it's almost entirely
they might have done. They might have done. But yeah. Apologies, but there we go. So it sounds like we've got various tasks. Who is under? It sounds to me like someone has got to go try and sell some of this Etiquette, or at least have it kind of valued. Someone, like we've talked about, trying to pick up on news and rumors. Is there anything else that we want to do? I'm trying to get 4 things, right?
Yeah, so I think Steele's going to want to try and combine, and just specifically to make your job more difficult, Steele wants to combine those first two things into kind of like asking for rumors while bartering.
Yeah, okay.
And
So
would
is Steele
rather
the
go
one...
with more than... Well, the thing is, like, Steele's not a good haggler, so Steele would
Right.
probably want, ideally, Gesto and kind of Ascarai, maybe, even Antom, who's pretty good with words, to kind of come and kind of
I think
help.
we have learned through long duress that Antom is the best talker of the group, despite not being very good at talking. So yeah, you definitely don't want a Gesto doing it.
Or me.
I think I kind of want him there as kind of the meat to indicate that there are two very large lads, one small lad. The small lad's holding something valuable. This is business.
Right, sure, yeah. So we're thinking maybe like you, DeGesto, and Antom then?
Unless there's an objection, I think that makes sense.
I mean, you could all go
Yeah,
if you want.
that's fine.
Know? Okay. So maybe Alindra and Ascarai go like... I mean, what else are we doing? Because we're not sure if we're staying for the night or...
Is Archbridge big enough that there might be like a witch here or somebody like that that could identify?
Oh, there's almost certainly witches here. Yeah, there's like... Archbridge is the biggest barbarian settlement you've ever seen.
Okay.
It's bigger than most Ambrian settlements. Like I say, you'd been here before, but when the other Ambrians arrived here, one of the big notable things was like, they were like, oh, little barbarian village. And you turned up and, oh, this kind of looks just like an Ambrian town, really.
Okay.
Only everyone's dressed a bit different. And so yeah, almost certainly. But finding the witches and getting them to talk to you might be another.
Well, maybe not even. Maybe just anyone who like is selling, like fancy stuff. Like Ascarai wants this prism thing that he has.
Right.
He wants to know what it is. So anyone like walk around.
So
and
go looking for that. Yeah. With Alindra, or is Alindra doing her own thing?
Alindra's easy.
Oh well, why don't we split the party that way then? That seems reasonable.
Yep.
Okay. So as you can see, there's a large ongoing marketplace that runs essentially the whole length of that main street under the bridge. There, you can see it in the image, and it doesn't take long, Antom and Steo and DeGesto, before you find a let's say Arendara's with you as well. Before you find a stall that seems to be kind of like trading in resources found in Davakar, like special woods, special metals, or stones, or various kind of resources. And it has some like unpolished, like cheaper end jewels and stuff on display as well, with gemstones, I suppose. So that seems like a person you might want to talk to. How we presenting ourselves?
You remember how to speak Odaf, don't you, Antom?
I can give it a go.
Might be a nice, good foot forward.
Yeah, you're fluent in Odav, so
try and don't try and go under 60.
So I think I'll make myself known. Give the person behind the stall a warm smile, and maybe remark on the warming sun that we are having in these parts and how refreshing it feels, before asking about the wares and whether we can do a bit of trading.
Sure. The Odav behind the thing is kind of like a large, bulky woman. Kind of nods and kind of like first looks quite surprised that you speak Odav so fluently, and then gives a kind of glance up to the sky and says, "Aye, that's your god's doing, as far as I understand, isn't it?"
It is, but he shines his warmth and light on us all. May I ask about whether we can trade something with you today?
What do you have, holy man?
Etikop, actually, as a matter of fact.
Etikop. Well, let me see.
I will indicate to one of the two heavies behind me to hoist the bag of it onto the countertop.
Yeah, I think I might be the delivery heavy, and kind of shove it open.
Sure, absolutely. The woman is on the older side. She's probably only a few years younger than you, Theo, and she gives you a bit of a very warm smile with a twinkle in her eye as you pass the Etacop over to her. She starts to look at it and says, "This is decent, workable, some standard stuff, but also this coloured material is interesting. I believe we had a lot of, and correct me if I'm wrong here, I did say that the Etacop, the kind of standard Etacop, is a sort of like golden browny colour, and then
I thought it was the other way around. I thought the cheap stuff was blue and the expensive stuff was kind of golden brown.
Oh, this is so bad.
Yeah, that's what I recall as well. But yeah,
No,
I didn't
fair
mark
enough,
down
probably
what we
right.
had of each type. I just we kind of evaluated it. There
Yeah,
and
we
then,
kind of
and I
went
just-
through the numbers pretty quickly.
Yeah. This is the problem, folks, when you have like this complex story and you have no idea how far or how detailed to the past something is going to get in a particular session. No, the standard color is golden brown. The rarer stuff is blue green.
And
That's
there's
what
various
happened.
different sizes of pieces. That we
Yeah,
get as well, isn't there?
various different sizes. The woman shrugs and says, "We can do some business, though. If I am honest, I feel like I do not have enough money here to pay you for all of this."
I'll maybe turn to Steo. Well, how about we see if we can just sell the amber coloured material, take the fancy stuff somewhere else, perhaps.
Yeah. 30 then. I'm making up numbers, but do what you can.
Do we not have the numbers broken down in any way? Or
We do not.
No,
fair enough.
we figured out a total for the bag.
I think that's fine. I think say that half the cost is the majority of it, of the golden brown stuff,
Yeah,
and then
this
half the cost is the smaller fragments of blue green. She kind of says, "All right, I'll take this more normal stuff. I have to admit I'd prefer the blue green, but I understand why you'd want to hold on to that and maybe take it south and sell it to someone who might be a little more impressed by it. What do you want?"
I'll turn to Steo, the person that she seems to heavily favour, and give him the nod as if to say a number.
40.
40. Father Anton, could you roll persuasive, please? You could take a +1 because you spoke Odav to her. And you know what? Through circumstances entirely my own, I said that she fancies Steo, so take another one.
I need a 12 or less. I got a 12. That Steo charm has come up trumps and paid off once again.
It has, but she kind of nods and narrows her eyes and says, 35.
I will hold out my hands as if to do a deal with her for 35. Not gonna take the piss.
She grasps your forearm, gives it a shake, and says, "Stand there, holy man. I will have it bagged up for you." And kind of like starts rummaging around under her. Before long, she passes you probably kind of like, in a large pouch. There's 35 thala, which she passes over to you and says, "I'm all out of Ambrian coin for the day now, but that's fine. It's good to get some of this stuff. We haven't had any in Archbridge for a while."
I hope it does you good business.
Have yourself a good day. Tell your companion to come back here if he has anything else for me.
I will take great pleasure in translating that to Steo.
Steo will attempt the most charming smile he can manage.
I don't want to role play out.
I think we're going to be
a
leaving
steamy night of
after
passion
that.
with Steo. So, yeah, which I didn't imagine was
Brilliant.
happening anyway. But I also imagine that Steo might have logged that one away in the back of his head for a future visit to Archbridge. But
so I think we'll take the money and not run. So we've got rid of the bulkiest part of the Epcot Center. The
Epcot Center, the Etacop.
The Etacop. We've got rid of the bulky Etacop, and we've just got the high value, low mass stuff now. So.
Just think of it as very close to the word Atacop, which of course we all know as an older English word for spider, as exemplified by its use in as part of a little rhyme in The Hobbit by J.R.R. Tolkien of Atacop, which we're all very familiar with, I'm sure, here. But yeah, it's Etacop. No? Okay. They hate me. Moving on.
So to divvy this cash up once we get back to the group back together, but I suppose let's see how the rumor mongers get on and the other sellers.
Absolutely. So, Askarai, why don't you give me a roll, please? Of so first you've got to find someone who might be able to help you with this, and there's plenty of services being available here. So why don't you give me a cunning roll at +2?
Okay. I need a 12. I rolled a 2.
Okay. You know what? You find a stall, and behind that stall is a young man in Ordo robes.
Okay.
He's chatting with an Odav as you walk up, and as you kind of walk over with Alindra and Revelia, he kind of turns and greets you first in Odav and then very quickly in Ambrian, like offering you both, essentially.
Okay. I reply in Ambrian. Hello, are you with the Ordo Magica?
In a way. Yes, I am. This is not really my day job, though, if that makes sense. I make a little money on the side here, doing various bits of work here that the Odavs might not want to take to one of their own, one of the witches. You understand?
Okay. Yeah. I mean, seems like an honest day's work to me. I have an item that I found while out exploring in Davaka, and I wondered if you could give me some more information about what it is, and perhaps what its value might be.
I see. I'm sure I could do that. May I see it?
I was kind of like, give him a look up and down, like, am I gonna deeply regret this? And then pull out the like, I think it was like a box with the thing inside, and pass him the box.
Yeah, I think that was about right. He cracks open the box. In my head, I thought about faking out a kind of like, oh my god, it's the lost prison. We're all doomed. No, he kind of cracks open the box and sort of gives, a little whistle about it and says, well, can you give me perhaps a few just a few moments here, please? I will remain here, don't you worry, with your treasure. He kind of glances over it for a couple of minutes and says, yes. Well, I will happily tell you what. I will have to examine it for a while yet to tell you of its properties, but I feel safe in telling you. Could you give me a actually, no. He says, I will tell you of the worth of this thing and of its properties for a rather generous single thaler.
A whole thaler. I mean, I could do
Richest.
5 shillings.
Could you roll persuasive, please?
I can. My persuasion is not good.
Is it like 5 or something?
Yep. I rolled a 7, but that's not enough.
My going rate really is a thaler, I'm afraid.
Okay.
Are you going to tell him that it makes rainbows?
No, I believe it has genuine mystical properties.
In that case, I think I can spend the thaler.
He will take that thaler off you and pocket it and says, "Please take a seat just here." You notice there's this like a couple of little stools at the side of his stall. This may take some time. He shares a few words in Odav with the clan folk there, who kind of nods and walks off, and then settles down and sort of, he has like a little desk behind the stall, and he sort of picks up a quite cheap looking monocle and kind of fixes it into his eye and kind of bends over the thing and starts kind of examining it. You can hear like him whispering something under his breath as he does so. This goes on for quite some time. How long do you think it would take before you start to lose patience or question him or anything like that?
Does anyone else come up to shop in the meantime? Because this would be a nice opportunity to like chat to people in the street about any news from like so and so. So it depends if that happens. If that doesn't happen, I feel like maybe like
no, people don't generally like you see a couple of people glance over and then see that someone's already there and then walk off.
Okay. I mean, I guess we'd be chatting between Askra and Alindra, but probably maybe like 15 minutes or something before we're like,
oh god, okay, well then you're gonna have to say something to him, because he's not done in 15 minutes examining the mystical properties of this ancient mysterious device.
Askra doesn't know how. Askra is like, can you look at this thing? And he expects him to like look at it and be like,
sure, yeah, that's not happening.
Okay, Askra at 15 minutes, Askra will be like, how's it going?
What, pardon?
How's the inspection going? Is it any progress?
It has some form of property limited by Celestial. This will take hours. You realize this?
Oh,
Matt, can I activate which sight on the object?
Yes, by all means.
Okay.
You got to roll a thing for it, right?
It's vigilant against, I guess, the object's discreet.
Just your standard vigilant roll.
That's a fail. So there we go.
Yeah, you can't see anything there.
Never works, does it?
I don't think you've ever landed one of those rolls.
Oh well.
Are you going to let him? I'm assuming you're going to let him continue.
yeah. I mean, he's got my thaler now.
Yeah, I'd say this continues long enough that that Steo and Degesto and Antom and Arendar and Ferrin find you and join you.
Okay, fair. I'll talk to them about how their trip went, I suppose.
I kind of try and circle the wagons a bit, so we've got a kind of discrete circle, and then I will, thanks to some very fortunate math, hand out 5 thaler to each and every person.
So does that include Revelia?
That includes Revelia and Degesto.
But not Ferrin.
Don't tell them.
Ferrin's not a person. Shh.
Oh, hang it. Seems.
Are you going to tell him that he's not a person?
I'm going to tell him
Sure.
that he can't have human money.
Yeah, I to be fair, I tell him that every day.
Yeah.
Doesn't fucking stop him taking it though. So, what? Incidentally, if any of you at any point go, "What is this guy doing?" Anton, you think at least a couple of hours is a perfectly reasonable amount of time to take to have to examine something like this.
Yeah, I think I might turn to Ascarai and say, I've taken stuff to the Order Magica before, and it's never taken anywhere near this long.
Oh, I think you may have
That is the
directly
opposite.
opposite interpreted what I just said.
Oh, sorry. Hang on.
I said it's a perfectly reasonable amount of time to take to look at some of this stuff.
I've
I
misheard.
think Mike just failed a roll.
I thought Mike was just trying to mess with Ascarai. Heard you perfectly well. It's like, this takes 5 minutes now.
DeGesto kind of peers around and says, "Look, shall I go get some food and drink? I'll bring it back here.
Yeah.
We can keep a watch on this lad."
Do you wanna, who wants to go and get a sit rep, get a status report? What's going on out in the field? Like, do you want to go ask Ryan and see if you can make some small talk during the?
Well, why don't we take it in turns here? A couple of us sit here, the rest of us go and get some drink and food, and then we swap over in an hour or so.
Sure.
Well, my feet hurt, so Steele will kind of take a seat on the little bench.
All right. So, without getting into full details of this, because I want to move us on a bit more before we finish tonight. Someone who is going to go try and find out any rumors?
Sure.
Okay. In that case, can you give me it's going to be a persuasion roll.
Wow. Well, I'll take Revelia.
Sure.
She can do the talking.
Sure. Yeah.
It's just flat persuasive?
Yep.
Oh, fail by 1.
Okay.
You
Is anyone
haven't
else going
spent
to
your
try?
only XP.
I'm perfectly happy as someone else giving it a go when it comes to their turn to go for a wander.
I mean, I'll try, but I might nudge Anton to be like, "They'll talk to a priest. He would like priests."
Barbarians aren't so interested in priests, but I can try.
I'm sure there's some Ambrians around somewhere.
There are definitely some scattered Ambrians around. Anton gives a roll.
I make it.
Okay. Down at the camp where you stayed, where there was where you met Father Argaton, and where there was the ruckus overnight involving a bear and a very unfortunate Ambrian. You find a group of traveling merchants who are just kind of going in and setting up. One of them, they actually find you. One of them kind of wanders over and asks you for kind of a blessing for their caravan because they had some problems on the way with wheels falling off and the like, and they think that Prios's blessing might help, especially as winter gives way to spring. And you get a few words from them. Not much, in honesty. You hear like talk of how like the forces at Thistlehold are swelling, but they really don't. That isn't the path they've come, so they don't really know of any precise details. And you also, they've said basically they came here instead of Karvosti because there was word that the High Chieftain sent out a request for barbarians to gather at Karvosti. But as far as they are aware, Ambrians are still going there. They just didn't like the sound of it. So they went here instead.
Okay. Can I ask some questions to them?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Is it common for the High Chieftain at Karvosti to assemble barbarians like that?
They have no idea they're Ambrian merchants.
Okay. And
you likely know way more about the goings on, anything that happens in Davokar than they do.
Yeah. Okay. I might ask them if they've seen any church activity.
They say apart from there are basically they talk about how the Templars have split away from the Sun Church, but more as a rumor than like people don't seem to know much about it.
Okay.
There's just rumors that it's happened. A couple of them think they're not true, so that's how abstract it is to these people.
Okay. Yeah, I will. I think probably stop at that point because I don't think that we found the right people. But I will bless their caravan, of course. I wish them on their way.
Sure. Yeah, people can gather food and drink and have something to eat. And obviously knock off the money. I think we've kind of established how much these things cost, more or less. So we can knock off a bit of that. Sam, the Ordo gentleman, after probably about 2.5 hours of examining it, gives out a kind of sharp whistle through his teeth and says, That's it. Oh, wonderful. Well, first of all, perhaps the important part, I suspect. Sam, do you want to roll a d10 for me?
Yep. Okay. That's a 3.
At a comparable market, you probably won't find many buyers for its like here. Maybe in Thistlehold or Inderos, depending on how far you want to travel. I would say this is worth around 3 thaler.
Okay.
However, it does have some properties. Not, well, I'll simply tell you. If you gaze through this prism, you may be able to catch glimpses of the spirit world the barbarians talk of, a glimpse into a world via their witch site, as they call it. However, this will only avail you under the light of the moon. So, my masked friend, under the light of the moon, gazing through this prism, you may see as the witches do. And there is your treasure.
Okay. Well, thank you very much for your hard work. I hope it was of interest to you as well. And
very, very educational.
if we're ever back here with more similar items, we'll be sure to pay you another visit. And of course, discretion is very much appreciated
Of
in
course.
this line of work.
Your thaler includes that particular service.
Thank you very much. I will take my prism, put it back in the box.
Okay. So, is there anything else we want to do? Oh, God. Didn't realize it was still up. Is there anything else we want to do in Archbridge?
I think we'll need to have a chat about the next steps.
Okay.
Well, we kind of have to, don't we? And I really would love to get a time when we can have a talk without the guesto around.
Okay.
I imagine.
I mean,
that's achievable.
that's up to you to manage that. He's part of the group, so.
It's going to be difficult, isn't it?
Wait until he goes to pee in the night. Wake everyone up.
He's been amenable before to just being told that. He's proffered to do.
Go and stand somewhere else.
Yeah.
So we'll just maybe at some point during the hours and hours waiting and the kind of impromptu outdoors festival food and drink experience.
Yeah, you can wait for him to have gone off to get some food.
It's the guestos round, and he's off getting them in.
Sure.
And this is probably after we got the news of the current situation. Actually, with the news we've got, I feel it might be a better idea to go up the hill. But I also think it might be a good idea to let the guesto go first. As in, to the island, separately from us.
I don't think the guesto would. Well, I guess he would, but I mean, why do you feel like that?
He's in a rush. We're not.
Well,
we are, but we're not in as much of a rush.
I mean,
he wants to hire a load of hirelings. I already have trust issues.
I think he will. I think he will hire the hirelings if we tell him that he's not part of this crew anymore. I think if he is part of this crew, he's gonna have to do that alone. I mean, that would have to.
I also, maybe a little bit more morbidly, think that if through some unfortunate incident we were to come across him lying prone in the forest, we would have a good mark for a difficult situation ahead, like a canary in a mine.
But is that more valuable to us than his help and the help of the people he's with? I feel like also
Maybe not, but I wanted to raise it.
His connections in terms of hiring people, and I mean, I would have not. He said that the best place to get a boat would be in Jakar. Perhaps we had some idea of that, but I mean, I think in terms of finding someone to take us to the island and that kind of thing, I think the guest will be a big help.
Elmendra described the journey to Yeffron Isle as one of the bloodiest of her life, and if the Gesto goes ahead of us and he dies, we will walk into the same trap and we will not know about it. I would rather have him by our side.
The other thing is, after what we did with the door, we put in his mind the prospect of destroying whatever information he finds to prevent other people finding it. If we let him go ahead and he destroys or does something to what we're looking for, then the whole journey is a waste.
He travels with us, I think.
I think you've all talked me out of it for the second time this week. Well, technically the 145th, given all the times I wanted to cross the bloody river.
I don't think there's any advantage to sending him ahead, other than that there is a reasonable good chance that he would get himself killed, and I don't think you've got that in you, Steo.
I like how that's an advantage.
I mean, Steo painted it that way. If he goes ahead, he'll die.
I was thinking about this the other day. I think in almost today, in fact, I think in almost any other role-playing group, maybe not playing Symbaroum, but playing like similar games, DeGesto would have become a firm favorite of the group. But in this one, it's like, this guy's helped us quite a bit. How do we kill him?
It's got that World of Darkness tinge, doesn't it? It feels a bit vampire-y, doesn't it? You're very useful. What are you up to?
I think the guest is hard to trust because he feels very like ruthless and quite practical in terms of how he treats the people that he hires and what he's doing. So it's hard for us to be like,
he's got that temper.
Yeah,
he does. But I have painted him as not an ideal companion for sure, but certainly has his advantages.
I'd like to add another kind of discussion point is what did you make of what he said about seeing if we can talk to the chieftains there? Is that worth doing now?
What do we think we could get from that?
More information about the Isle, maybe.
I can't if the chieftain understands what is happening, and surely he'd have people to tell him. He likely understands that this journey leads to under Karvosti, which is not a place they want us to go. So, well, you wouldn't have thought they would want us to go.
That's true. Maybe if we're going there, the least we'll be able to do is find out why he called the muster. But I think we can guess.
I think we're going to have to make these decisions when we get to Karvosti. There are so many things moving. The chieftains may well be concerned with things other than the gold rush.
Yeah, that army outside Thistlehold's probably quite high up the list, isn't it?
Yeah.
And are you going to go in disguise, Father Anton? Do you feel safe?
I think I was minded to remain in my robes. And that's probably because I don't feel safe not wearing them. But it's also actually it may buy us some sort of credibility as well. Perhaps if they see that not all people of the church have been persuaded to join this cause. I was also thinking that in terms of talking to the High Chieftain, it might be of interest to him to know that Piramai is dead.
That is a good bit of information to pass over, isn't it? If it hasn't reached him already.
Maybe it has reached him already, but perhaps not.
Can we agree that the general plan for here is that we're going to go to Carvosti with Degesto? We're going to tell Degesto that he's welcome to stay with us and travel to Yefron with us, but that we have reservations about bringing on additional hirelings. That Father Anton will dress as Father Anton, and that we will speak to the chieftains if we can, and that any given aspect of that plan may well be something that we have to reconsider when circumstances change.
I agree with most of that, although I think that if we do have a real bloody fight ahead of us, I am not against Degesto hiring more men.
Yeah,
I want to make sure that at any given time he doesn't have enough men to stage a mutiny. So long as that's the case, fine.
Yeah. Carvosti then, into the eye of the storm.
Yes.
Okay. Well, I think I was planning to end this session on one thing, but I think it will probably take too long now. So I think we're going to have to go without a non cliffhanger ending, folks. So I think that's a good point to leave, with the intention to roll away from Archbridge and towards Carvosti.
I could see you gearing up for a cliffhanger, and then Chris was like, "Group chat."
That's it. Oh, you see right through me, Stephen. Yeah. So there we go, folks. Thank you very much to my players. Thank you to all of the lovely viewers. Pop some comments and questions in the chat if you like, and we'll try and get them up. Although John is usually the person who does this, so I'll do my best, but we might end up missing them. In the meantime, promo, if you check down below, there's a bunch of links. There's links to YouTube and to Twitch. Please do check out both of those, as well as our Patreon, our social media, our Discord, if those are things that interest you. We run 3 weekly games at the moment. Mondays is Vaesen, Wednesdays is Symbaroum, and Thursdays is the Cincinnati Chronicles, our World of Darkness crossover campaign. We also have one-shots once or twice a month, the most recent of which was Land of Eam, which was on Sunday and was a lot of fun. So that should be turning up on YouTube sooner rather than later, and you can also still watch it on Twitch for the next couple of weeks. In July, we have Motorbike Month somehow, which is Johnny this Sunday running a homebrew one-shot based on the album Bat Out of Hell. No real idea what that is, so tune in to find out, because you're all in the dark, mostly as much as the players are, of which I am one. And then midway through the month, I'll be running Hell Night. I think that's on 15th of July, which is a Doombiker TTRPG, and that should be good fun as well. Okay, let's start running through the some of the comments. We've got Don't Kick Food saying, can't wait to see what kind of spillover effects Eam has on the Symbaroum game. Well, there's a door with a keyhole in it. So there's that. Otherwise, not a huge amount. Stephen said that Symbaroum's about to get amazingly alliterative.
And then it failed to.
Failed completely. I like how 3 of the players here are like, no idea what they're talking about. But there we go.
Well,
Should all watch Land of Eam. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Steve, can't wait for Askerai's Falling Down episode, which is a very specific 90s joke. That Falling Down is a film with Michael Douglas where he plays a mild-mannered office worker who goes off the deep end and goes on a massively violent spree because he gets trapped in traffic and is trying to. It's a commentary on
just because modern life is awful, I think, is the moral of the story.
It kind of is, but he is also awful. in that it's kind of, I think it's kind of painting gentrified middle class as like people who snap with the slightest, with the relatively mild provocation. But yeah, what else? What else have we got? 42. It always starts with this ring is so useful. Steve, the other thing I've learned, always keep an eye on your cloak. I think that was when Anton was giving his priestly, confessorly advice to Elindra, which Stephen might not even be aware of the whole cloak thing. I don't know.
I bet Keller thinks Prius is dead.
Yeah, I don't know about anything with Anton and a cloak.
Brief summary of that, Mike, maybe?
There's kind of two elements to it. One, in the very first episode of Symbaroum prologue, there was a companion in the party who was also a priest called Keller, and he robbed us blind and took a load of cloaks. I think that we newly bought or something like that.
Yeah,
Brand new
for the
cloaks.
trip, yeah. And these were because the prologue has different player characters, by the way, in case you weren't aware of that. So it wasn't something that happened to Anton and Steel.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I see.
The second element to it, which I suspect is not what Steve meant, is that there was a series of episodes where like Anton would like patch himself up with like bandages made from like the torn off end of his robe, and there was like a running joke that the robe was just getting shorter and shorter and shorter until he went like full Zach Brannigan with it, basically.
Nice.
Worth pointing out as well, though, Keller has turned up in the main continuity, as it were, in that he basically arrived in Thistlehold with Anton, both as priests sent from Indaros, and Keller very quickly out-politically maneuvered Anton and essentially became his boss. But he also clearly didn't give a shit what Anton did and didn't want him even really involved in any of his business.
Yeah, it became his boss in Thistlehold in the church that Anton, as I understood it, hardly ever went to.
Yes.
Just didn't show up.
Partly because of Keller.
Yeah.
Because Keller just made it clear he had no interest in, like, you just hang around if you want, but I'm not going to bring you in on anything.
I don't like my job, and I think I'm just not going to go anymore.
Yeah. One from Sam here. Dreams getting left on red.
Look,
Terrible.
Sad.
typical.
Bloody elves.
I believe this comment from Steve was when I said that I wasn't going to describe Night of Passion between Steo and the trader lady, but that's just left as homework for the viewers.
I mean, for the record, the last person Steo has had any form of intimate contact with is a spider goddess. So
it's a tough act to follow. I think you were very smart, Matt, in managing to get through that scene without naming that NPC.
I have started to learn that I can't name all these NPCs, or everyone is going to fall in love with all of them for no reason.
Except the Gesto, everyone hates.
Except the Gesto, everyone hates the Gesto.
I hope Baramo's okay.
This from Sam on the caravan being blessed by Anton. Caravan rolls only 20s for the rest of its existence.
It's short existence.
Yeah, there we go. Lovely. All right, there we go, folks. That's enough for this week. Join us next week where we return to Symbaroum and return to Carvosti and carry on with Witchhammer. Yeah. Take care. Stay safe. Bye-bye.